Volt Nation Town Hall meeting. My name is Lyle Dennis, and I'm the founder of GMVolt.com, the Chevy Volt news, information, discussion, and community website. I'm basically just a regular guy, like everybody else here. You know, I'm a neurologist, and I started the site after General Motors first announced the, mic's breaking up? Okay. I started the site a few days after General Motors announced the Chevy Volt extended range electric vehicle concept to the world back in January of 2007. I was struck, as I'm sure many of you were, by this vehicle's remarkable importance and potential to shape the future of automotive history. The ability to drive a regular daily driving without using a drop of gas. I grew up in the Bronx, and my father was a Pontiac salesman, and he worked at Ace Pontiac on Jerome Avenue in the Bronx. And he always used to say, buy American cars. You know, and it was also the early 70s, and it was a time of the gas crisis. And I can remember being a child and thinking that when I became old enough to drive, there wouldn't be any gas left and I'd never get the chance to. And now, I actually look forward to being able to drive without gas because of all of the harmful effects of oil on the politically, socially, financially, and environmentally. To me, the Volt is a means towards that end. I always wanted the site to serve as a beacon to General Motors. I wanted to be able to demonstrate to them how many of us there were out there that were really waiting and wishing and wanting for this car to happen. You know, I was really more of a computer and internet enthusiast more than a car enthusiast, but when I heard about this car and I recognized its importance, I began spending a lot of my free time working to help spread the word about it. I think we've begun to start to achieve some of these goals of demonstrating to GM, just how much we want this car. It was a few months after starting the site that I got my first email from GM. They actually invited me out to their headquarters in Detroit, where I got to meet with several other bloggers, got to meet the Volt's chief engineer at the time. And since then, I've been invited to multiple events where I've gone out, and I think I've met almost every executive member of the Volt's development team, and I've really learned a lot. And as a result of these efforts, and really the wonderful support of people like you, the site has grown considerably. Presently, we're getting over 100,000 visitors a month, and these people are mostly people from the United States, but I think every country in the world is represented. I really have to, one of the other things I always really wanted to do was to be able to connect the public directly to General Motors and the Volt's development team. And so in November, I carried out 250 questions, Tony will remember that, 250 questions that I collected from the website that people wanted to ask the Volt engineering team. And I actually got to sit down with the engineers and I got those questions answered. And it was shortly after that that I thought, gee, it would be great to actually connect people directly to the engineers and have people be able to come out, we could meet each other, and see the car, and we could get our questions answered directly. And so I proposed that to GM, and they listened, and they agreed. And that's the reason we're all here today. As I think of it, we are the influencers. It's through our learning and discussing what we learn with others that we can all help spread the word about this car and its incredible importance, and help to get this country and the world off of oil. And I'd really like to thank General Motors for this opportunity, for being so welcoming and supportive of my efforts. I would like to thank all of you, especially for coming out here today. Some of you I know at very considerable distances and personal expense. I really appreciate that. Most of all, I'd like to thank my wife, Jeannie, for putting up with a lot of computer time and my kids, and having to listen to a lot of Chevy Volt talk. Anyway, you're not here to listen to me, and I hope that this is the beginning of a true revolution for this country. And the first person I'd like to introduce to you is someone that I certainly have learned a lot from and have great respect for, Mr. John Lochner, who is the Vice President of Global Program Management for General Motors.
And welcome everyone to GM Volt Nation. I mean, I've been going to a lot of auto shows around the world over a lot of years, and I have to tell you that this is completely unprecedented. Normally the auto shows, at least during this period of time, are primarily events where the press comes in and they interview us, they take pictures of cars and basically get their stories. And today here, we have a group in this GM stand area on the Chevrolet, in front of the Chevrolet Volt, that basically is a group of all of you who are enthusiasts for the Chevrolet Volt, and I got to tell you, it's really quite amazing. I personally heard that at least one of you came from Minnesota, another one came from Colorado. I guess. Lyle, I wonder, do you know, has anyone come farther than that?
I think some.
Arizona?
Arizona.
Arizona? Wait. California? That's tremendous. I mean, that's really terrific. Well, you know, when Lyle approached us, you know, late last year, he basically was interested in getting together a group of people who could interact with all of you that are very instrumental in the development of the Chevrolet Volt. And so we've got a small handful of folks here who are very deeply involved with the Volt on a daily basis, and I'd like to introduce them, and they're going to be here available to answer your questions. First, we have Ed Pieper. Ed is the general manager of the Chevrolet division. He's been a constant and continuous supporter of the Chevrolet Volt from the very beginning. He's one of the guys that's going to help us turn this from a gleam in our eye to a gleam on the showroom floor. Next, Alex Catalan. Alex is the assistant chief engineer for Powertrain. The Powertrain organization in General Motors has a huge responsibility because they're the folks that are working very, very actively on the development of the motor drive system and also the range extending internal combustion engine. Alex? Next we have Tony Pozowatz. Tony is the vehicle line director for eFlex. Tony has been with the program from the time it was a concept. And he's been involved in probably a lot of blogs with some of you, or I should say interviews that you've turned into blogs over the many auto shows that have transpired between the Detroit show in January of 2007 until now. Tony? Andrew Farah. Andrew is the vehicle chief engineer for the Chevy Volt. He's the guy that has to bring all of the various pieces of the vehicle together and basically make sure at the end of the day we got exactly what we wanted on a total vehicle basis. So Andrew? Tim Gregg. Tim Gregg is a design manager. He's one of the guys that's very deeply involved in the development, primarily in the interior, but I also think you've dabbled in the exterior a little bit. They're working very actively on the final design proposal for the Chevrolet Volt. So Tim?